in the gutter of the hotel.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Blood stains over the door.
There's some very weird staining on the carpet. I'm very concerned about my well-being and whether I can get out of this room if it lights on fire.
Yes, definitely.
I'm not even sure I want to take my clothes off to sleep, or if I want to get under the covers, truthfully. I'm determined if I really want to. But
yeah, it's definitely interesting. We are, after almost 11 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think 11 hours.
Well, you got to add the hour in for Alex's stomach, and probably another hour for my bladder. So really, we probably only drove like 9.5 hours.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, a day in the car with Paranormal Science Lab, quite a day. But we are in the Chicago area to do some investigating, and we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, we should have a lot of fun while we're up here. We have some team members coming up, and it'll be a good time. And
it kind of just brings up the subject. You never know what is going to happen, and you have to adapt as you go.
Just have to overcome. Tonight's show was late because we had to adapt and overcome. Apparently, the internet thinks we're Vietnam.
Yes.
So it's one of the charging me 2.3 cents per minute. So we're using my phone because it's free.
And not in Vietnam.
And not in Vietnam. Not even close.
Not to mention that GPS on the way here took us completely the wrong direction.
Well, I'm not sure if it was that or if it was Google, because you voiced it in, so Google may not have picked up on
That's true. It does raise the question of whether or not there is a vortex in this town.
Well, there's a lot of activity in this area as far as Lafayette is concerned, so
that's true.
Could have opened up something pretty
nice. Yes, I mean, lots of disposed bodies, things like that. Well, what's the difference now?
There might be some doctors.
So, what's new this week in the paranormal realm?
Do you want me to say that? I don't know. What's new in the paranormal? I don't know. I don't have a lot of time.
Well, I mean, you've been doing a lot of reading on things.
Like what? Bone readings?
Bone readings?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of readings on reading bones. Michelle Jackson's book, Bone Shells and Curios, and it's a comprehensive, Bone Shells and Curios, I don't have the book with me because I'm thinking here, a contemporary throwing bones, contemporary way of doing method of throwing bones. And I don't know how contemporary, I mean, I guess it is contemporary if you look at it from, maybe like 1,000 years ago, but I think that the way that Michelle Jackson tackles it, she tackles the book excellent. Very step-by-step, very easy to read. I read it in a few days. It's only like 96 pages, but it's well worth it. I think it was like $10 on Amazon. And but worth the money. Super nice lady. I've talked to her a little bit on Facebook. She has a Facebook page. I think it's just Bone Shells and Curios. She may have a couple. She has one for the book too, I think. She has a group. For people to get access, it's very accessible. Send her a message. She actually just says she can. She will actually return the message. So, but the way she tackles it's good. I mean, just basically using your instincts and using your intuition to read the bones. Pretty much like I do everything, the tarot cards and so forth. So it's just fairly natural.
I think that it brings up a good point. That I think people get this conception that, whether it's bone readings or tarot or other forms of divination, that somehow these obvious people have a supernatural power in and of themselves that somehow is magic in that old law of the sorcerer sense.
Right.
And that's not really how it works.
No, I don't think so at all. And if you look at it from a maybe even like my standpoint, my phone said I'm kind of gearing in a kind of Native American, way. And about anything on Native American bone reading. And I know that she just gave me a cowrie shell.
I found that this morning.
Where's the petrified wood?
I have not found it yet. I know.
That's a pretty shell. Thank you. Basically, I'm carrying my bag towards like a Native American understanding of the bones. You know, and if you look at it from that aspect, there's still spirit there that you can access. However, the bones themselves don't have any sort of magical power. It's all about triggering intuition and what the bones mean. And I'm a firm believer in that, especially in the tarot, because, you know, to me, tarot is, you read a book that's great, educational. You don't want to get stuck into somebody else's dogma. And, you know, I prefer to read my tarot just straight up read it. Whatever comes to mind as I'm looking at those card spreads. You know, having an idea of maybe what the card layout is good. You know, like, what are the positions on a Celtic cross layout, as opposed to, you know, just guessing at it, because you could actually get wrong as far as time frame or something. But I think that if you just use your intuition, I know you feel the same way, if you just use your intuition to read a book, or to read the cards or the bones, I think that's going to be more beneficial to your client in the long run.
Well, I think so, but I think it also kind of goes to that these objects that, and I think a couple things there. One, people end up fearing these things because they think that they have this innate otherworldly power that's going to control people or whatever, however outlandish you want to get. And you have to set that aside. But I think it also is a good illustration. It pairs with aspects of paranormal and ghost hunting, in that it's all about energy, and it's the energy of those objects that allow you to tap, you know, be more effective with intuition.
Right. I agree with that.
You know, and, you know, when you're investigating a haunting or whatever, often it's some sort of object or a house or whatever that kind of embodies the energy that's what's going on.
I think a lot of that is true. I think, you know, a lot of objects, especially, you know, when you're doing readings and so forth, especially in the paranormal world, I definitely believe in intelligent haunt, but there's a lot of residual haunt, and not even just an actual spirit itself just following the same path. I think that the energy is somewhat of a residual haunt, because it's just kind of, it's replaying that feeling or that emotion for that particular space, and I think that brings in other things.
Well, and I think, too, you know, even if you have an intelligent haunting going on, the energy that is stored or housed in an object can interact. The two, I think, interact at times. Mm-hmm. You know, if you have an object that had a lot of energy attached to it for whatever reason, and you have an intelligent haunting, I think it's like when you investigate and you know, battery drain or whatever. I think spirit utilizes energy that's stored in objects in the same way.
Absolutely, except when I'm running through the graveyard.
Except when you're running through the graveyard.
Yeah, I don't need them to drain my graveyard.
Yeah, well, they just want to get your attention.
Well, they got it.
Well, now you got to figure out who it was.
Well, they didn't say.
Well, I guess you have to run again. Oh, again? Because I got extra soft.
Just like those socks.
But,
got us off track again. I do that well.
That's all right. You know, it kind of reminds me of a conversation that came up yesterday about a location that we investigate a lot, of an entity being seen in multiple places by different people, and particular witness just not wrapping their head around the fact that it's the same entity, and not that they're fixed on just a certain piece of the property.
Oh, right, yeah, you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
The basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I don't think that any entity is generally, I mean, an intelligent part, obviously, but I in more than one way. But, you know, I mean, I don't even think that a residual haunt is limited. I mean, they're limited to an extent. They're not limited to, you know, why couldn't they go outside the building?
Right, or if they're in the basement, why can't they be on the second floor? Or this or that. I think it's our own concepts that pigeonhole it, saying, "Oh, something happened in this room, so it has to be experienced in this room."
Right. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that doesn't work at all. You know, I think so often with when people have activity, they just look at it as I want to know who's here or that, and they don't sort of the why and what's really going on, how it's working gets lost.
Right.
And I don't know. I think that we're kind of exploring something this weekend about looking into certain mysteries based on connections to a person, instead of saying, "Oh, we have this activity in this spot now. What does that mean?"
Right.
And I think sometimes you have to look at it from the other side. And the location we were talking about yesterday, I think maybe one of those that you have to look at all the people that were there to explain it.
And you have to realize that the person that sees them more often is the most scary person out there.
Okay, well, that's a good question.
I've been in that building a couple, 21st times maybe, and I've never seen an actual, full body apparition.
No, I haven't either.
At least it's the only one I have. So, I mean, granted, now, he's in there more than we are.
Yeah.
So the odds of him seeing a full body apparition are a lot higher.
Right. However, you have with sight seen.
I have, yeah.
Seen him in there.
Multiple times. Yeah.
Right. And that matches the description that he gives.
Right. Which is funny because I'm curious about the images I've been seeing about what we're doing this weekend, if those are actually come true.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
No hints.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fun.
Well, it has to do with mafia. We're in Chicago. What didn't mafia do here?
Well, that's true. That's true.
I won't tell you what I see them doing.
Okay. Well, maybe next week.
Maybe next week.
Okay. I got a visual that's on the QT for everyone else.
Right.
I can see that. I can see that. But not reenactors.
No. They're not reenactors.
Okay, well, I guess that's the question. What do you think? We talk about triggerologies and so forth when we're investigating. What do you think? Do we really affect anything by reenacting or dressing the part, so to speak?
I don't know about dressing the part. I think you can have a trigger object, firearms, coins, things that had substance or a lot of energy to put into. I'm not sure that dressing like a particular character would actually give us any, I don't know if that would give us any, I mean, it may, that could be far off, but I just don't see it.
Well, we talked before about that often there are certain types of apparitions they're seeing. Batman, etc.
Right.
And you would think that, if you have these apparitions or shadow-men, and they view us, and we are so much different, in our appearance and our dress than they were, say, 150 years ago, that, somehow we, would appear to startle or surprise them, but it never seems to have that effect.
Right.
Especially, I thought this before, that, especially when we're say, Civil War sites and so forth. And I and other female investigators are walking around in jeans and tennis shoes or boots or anything that should seem very out of place.
Right.
But when you encounter them, they don't seem to be surprised at all.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that, being energy and then they are able to experience this, I think beyond, even if it's a residual or not, there has to be some sort of connection or understanding, I would think, energy-wise to the whole mass. So, I mean, the change in someone's dress, I don't think has anything to do with their reaction. I think that there's more to it than what we totally know yet, even to the residual hauntings, or what we call a residual haunting.
Well, I agree with you there. Now, I think I think it's a little different when I think it's a little different for the living though, because think about it, if you had someone show up dressed, I don't know, from the future, some time traveler theoretically showing up from 1,000 years from now in a dress completely different than anything that we're used to, people will be very uncomfortable.
I agree. And, it goes, I think the problem with that is, or the reason for that is because we put so much stigmata on the material world that we come to our own conclusions on what we consider an understanding. And, we think certain things are correct and certain things are right, and that's just the way it is, period.
Right.
That's very closed-minded, obviously, way of looking at things, but it's how we do it,
We're all supposed to be alike, at least to a certain extent.
Right, and some of us are a lot more open-minded about that than others. There are sects of our society that think that, women still should be wearing skirts and,
not cut their hair.
Barefoot and pregnant and making dinner and that's the way it should be. But,
right.
Life has changed and we just have to modify and move on. But we have to overcome. Because I think women should be pregnant. I didn't say that. I was kidding.
That's just a fantasy.
Yeah, but that's a whole other show. Barefoot and make me a sandwich. No. I mean, yes, but no.
But isn't it kind of funny that those things don't seem to affect spirit when they deal with life so much?
Well, like I said, I think it's, I think once we move on and we become back, kind of part of the collective, yes, that was a border. Back part of the collective, and we have this mutual understanding, and we realize that some of the things that we've done here aren't exactly right, or it was just because we wanted to experience that particular thing in this lifetime. And I really think, and I've probably said this before, and I know people believe the way I do, that we drive these bodies as an experience. Everything that we do now is an experience that we wanted to do while we were here. Why? Some of the things we do are pretty damn stupid. We make mistakes, drive on. But we do that so that we get to experience. The problem is as a society, we have put so much emphasis on what's wrong and right that we don't necessarily, we've kind of lost who we are. And I think, and we actually had this conversation here, from a collective standpoint, we have lost our ability, for the most part, we can get it back, but we've lost the ability to connect to spirit and to understand each other better and what's right, what's really wrong. Some things maybe we put too much emphasis on. And some of that is driven by, again, certain sects of our society believing that certain things are right or wrong. And that's their belief structure. That's not everyone's belief structure, and that's where my problem would arise. But, so anyway.
Well, I think,
a fire truck. Probably for this room.
That's no smoke.
No, but that rusted out for other things, pretty good. Anyway.
So, that kind of goes back to another thing, we've talked before about that a lot of paranormal activity seems to be a function of time and space.
Right.
Well, I wonder, once spirit goes back to the collective, another board reference, that
you will be assimilated.
Yeah, we will be assimilated, yes. But that perhaps spirit doesn't see things in the same linear way that we do, that time and space is experienced differently, so that spirit is not surprised by an appearance from 1,000 years ago or 10,000 in the future or whatever.
That's entirely possible. I've often wondered, too, how do they get to a specific time? So we've talked in the past about spirit, contacting people and spirit guides and helping people. But how do they know when? I mean, if time and space is worked, for lack of a better word, working, how do they determine, when to come back?
Well, I guess if you're not experiencing time in a linear fashion, and I mean, in quantum physics, they say this is the case, that all points in time exist at the same time simultaneously. That, yeah, I mean that's a lot to wrap your head around, but perhaps it's not so much as planned, but the thought.
Right.
They're here to help you with this issue or this lesson, so they come to that lesson and that issue rather than this point in time in this year or when you are 30 or 45 or whatever.
Right.
And so maybe it's just a different way of experiencing it. I don't know.
I was actually contemplating, I hope I don't get bed bugs for laying in this bed.
Well, we did check. We checked, and there's fine.
Perfect honest with lattice or some crap.
John's going to be sleeping standing up in the corner. I'm not trying leaving it that wall, though.
I gotta find a trash bag I gotta wrap myself in and sleep. At least I got the throwaway cups. They don't wash them. Maybe they don't wash them. Put them back. I hope they
Okay, so you have cellophane around them, so.
That's a good sign. As long as it's not open with cellophane. Just check that fire thing before fire detector.
It's not flashing, but
yeah,
whether or not it has a battery might be the...
It has a whole other handle, so I probably stole the battery and nobody replaced it.
That's very, very possible. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's only for a couple of days. Oh, it's stayed worse. We used to stay in places in Korea for $20 a night.
We're just getting to Korea.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Not this risky.
Yeah.
It had a bed and a bathroom about the size of this chair. Yeah. Whatever.
Now, did you have a TV?
I don't know if it works, but I have one.
Zenith. I'm supposed to read Zenith for 20 years.
No, probably not. And there's some white powdery stuff on, I don't know what that is. I don't even want it.
You might see if you can find us.
Yeah, there's a remote over here. So, hopefully it's got battery for it. Anyway, so what would you like to talk about now? We've got 20 minutes to show the lesson.
Oh, well, it's been quite a day. The brain is kind of fried.
All right. So you're some music.
But yeah, that's enough to fry anybody.
So yeah, I mean, we've talked about there's some great things going on with our team. We've got a lot of stuff. Hopefully, it's going to be coming into fruition here really soon.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully, get announcements before long.
I have been using some really big words during the show. I thought I'd point that out. Hanging out around you lawyer types makes me smart.
I don't know, we just do it out. It sounds good.
I don't even know if I'm using the right terminology for what I think it's spit stuff out. I am not an educated man.
That's pretty smart.
Well, I had a smart 51. So, Fortune 50 changed the place down the road. I can tell you. It's not, I that for me is what I want to know. Perfect.
Divination.
It must be. Fortune cookie is a divination. That must be a sign of Satan.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Thank you, baby. Hey, baby Jesus time is coming up. Excited about that. I like it.
Yes. Christmas is always good.
I like the Christmas. I'm not going to lie. That's like my favorite character from all of Christmas.
Well, there was the girl who posted that, you know, the snow in Buffalo was a sign that Jesus was coming.
Oh, that's true. Right. The amount of snow that Buffalo got is a sign of the times. And that Jesus is coming. Of course, and again, I read on a book one time that he was supposed to come on my birthday, so I was all geared up. And that never happened. I was going to go out with a keg of beer. And,
That's a good way to go.
post toasties. But, well, I couldn't afford the good Cheerios, you know, after I got beer.
Yeah. They actually have beer you really didn't care.
No, you got beer. It's like you know, your son was saying something about drinking bush beer. And I'm like, whoa. But, you know, you're drinking up bush beer, it just doesn't matter.
That's right.
At some point.
That's right.
And so if you think that the end of the world is coming because of the snow, I'd like you to comment when we post this video.
Yes.
Because I would love to hear your input on why. And if you could give me a biblical verse as to why the snow is bringing the end of the world, I would like to see that.
That would be very interesting.
Just something pure and white and pretty cannot possibly be the end of the planet. That's it.
Well, unless the planet turns into a snowball.
See, that's possible.
Yeah.
I will get that.
That's what I heard.
I can see that. I mean, you know, they were talking about that years ago. Talking about that or the crust shifting, like it did prior to us having the North Pole. Now,
right.
It's shifted in instant freeze, right?
Right.
That's why they have so many fossils and bodies and stuff that they're finding in these icicles and so forth. Because it was so instant. What they were talking about, the Earth is actually overdue for another shift.
Yes.
You know, the problem with that is that we don't know which way it would shift. You know, the Earth is round. It really doesn't have, you know. So, I mean,
that's like an onion peel, you know.
So what happens if it shifts over like an ocean? Does that cause, like, a serious amount of issues as far as the water that we have? I mean, is that...
flood?
Will the world flood? I mean, if it shifts over, what was that movie? Where it shifts over the United States and we all went to Mexico. Oh, wouldn't that be a trip after this week with Obama? Thank you. So,
how about a politician who's busy exercising?
oh, Lord, this guy did that job.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now. It's some long, like, I want to say German name. I'm not picking on Germans, but I think it's what it's supported in. Yeah, he was talking about, he's now an elected official in Colorado, by the way. Nice job, Coloradians. This guy's nuttier than a fruitcake, and he's got an office, a political office. He's wanted to exercise. He tried to exercise Obama, like the exorcist type exercise. He thinks that lesbian, gay people, and bisexual and transvestite are all possessed by demons, and he thinks that transgender children should be spanked and exercised. So he thinks that demons are causing gay people. Is basically where we're going with it.
Well, you know what it sounds like? The Spanish Inquisition.
The Spanish Inquisition. Yeah, he just wanted to do a cleansing. And actually, one of the, I can't think of what politician was talking about. You know, Obama passes this Immigration Act prior to, you know, without anybody else chiming in. It's basically going to start a cleansing on the United States. They're going to want to do a cleansing on the United States.
Wow.
You know, I'm sure the Native Americans thought the same way when y'all came over, you white folks.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and you know, we actually were discussing this in the car today, and Paul Point was brought up that typically, for a valid exorcism to be conducted, it has to be sanctioned by the church, by the Pope.
Pretty sure the Pope's going to tell me to kick rocks.
And there's just been this movement in the last year, I've noticed, that people just like, you know what? I can do an exorcism.
Yeah.
And I don't quite understand what makes people think that they're qualified to conduct an exorcism.
That's a fact. You have people in, just every day think that they're demonologists, and, they think that they can exorcise people's houses or them, and it's like, wait a minute. What makes you even qualified? They say that, let me reverse that. They say they're demonologists. So what makes them qualified to be able to say they have a demon in the place in the first place? Let alone, they're not sanctioned by the Catholic Church. And truthfully, that's the only one that does exorcism.
Right. To be perfectly honest, no other church of any denomination that I'm aware of has, any teachings or rituals or ceremonies to do with an exorcism or to cast out demons.
Now, I do believe that, if I remember correctly, and it's pretty far few between, but like Native Americans have, and I'm sure some of the indigenous cultures, indigenous shamans have ways to do that. However, we're not talking about shamans, we're talking about people that are just everyday Joes.
Right, just saying, someone sitting in their house deciding I'm going to exorcise the demons out of my son, or, paranormal investigator or whatever, without any special training and without sanction of clergy. I just haven't.
This is not a good idea.
I just haven't figured out what has made people think, one, that it's a good idea, and two, that they can do it. I mean, I think so many people have kind of just latched onto the ideas of I'll perform a cleansing, this kind of thing, and they almost equate an exorcism with saging a house. I mean, that's a
lot of people. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, you really hit that one on the head. A lot of people think they can go into the house and sage it and say a little prayer, and it's all going to be all good and groovy.
Right.
That's not how it works, people. The saging is simply to calm.
Right.
That doesn't clear anything. Now, if you do energy work, you can work with that. However, we're not talking about, demonic entity here. We're talking about just regular, everyday Joe spirit.
Or just energy.
Or just energy. The cleansings, the house cleansings and stuff like that are strictly, for energy work, blessings and so forth. This is not house exorcism way to do things.
Right.
And people they're just willy-nilly going in and telling people that they can do it or this and that, and they're either causing more of a problem or they're doing nothing.
Right.
And most of the time they're causing more of a problem.
Well, and I think one thing that people need to remember is that, the purpose of a cleansing and saging, those kind of ceremonies often is just calming energy, and a lot of that energy has nothing to do with paranormal. It's energy of the living.
I do, when I do my journeying, shamanic journey, shaman, shamanic practitioner, when I do my shamanic journeying, I do a lot of saging, or, I use like copal and frankincense, myrrh, benzene, different, resins, and so forth, to clear the air or set energy for that particular journey or whatever. A lot of times, I don't even know, I really don't do, being in a paranormal world, I don't do a house blessing at my house probably as often as I should. And I don't have, I have an occasional visitor, but it's not like, it's nothing that's not normal.
Right.
It's nothing that really wasn't prior to any sort of investigation. Occasionally I'll see, the cat and I'll just watch things.
Sometimes this is happening. And that's another thing people need to think about is that just because you have an activity, one, doesn't mean that it's going to stick around necessarily, because they do travel through.
Right.
Or that it's negative, or that it's attacking anyone.
That's true.
You know, I think people get in that mindset, and then they get into these ceremonies, and I think sometimes inadvertently, through misunderstanding, anxiety, fear, etc., they end up stirring up more problems that they get worse.
Well, and people just are automatically scared.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared of something they do not understand, and I absolutely get that. But not everything that we do not understand is necessarily bad. In fact, probably a good majority of it is. We've made full circle and back here to stigmata and what some cliques of society think are okay and what's not.
Yeah.
You know, spirit is here. I've had people tell me that they've been researching cars and gotten, EVPs.
Yeah.
I've had people, have to do an EVP, I bet, right here or an EVP session right here in this room and probably get something.
That's probably pretty good bet.
Yeah, well, this hotel is kind of creepy. But anyway, the fact of the matter is that, okay, let's look at it, we'll run out of time, but let's look at it from a Christian standpoint. In the Bible, it says that nobody goes to heaven until Jesus returns, right? I'm paraphrasing people, so don't send me nasty mail. So, if that is the case, Jesus has not returned yet, so where are all these people?
Exactly. Well, in some versions, purgatory or whatever,
right.
But does that mean that purgatory doesn't overlap here?
Right. I mean, what?
We have this idea that there's these firm...
Like walls, separating all of this, and right. I don't know that I don't think that there are walls. I think that there's what we call the veil, and the veil is not as thick and as opaque as people think.
Right.
And in fact, I would say that they can cross anytime they want. We probably could too if we would work on it. I mean, right. I get really close at times, and I think sometimes my fear takes over. Well, I mean, it happens.
The idea maybe you aren't coming back.
Right, and I don't know if that's always a bad thing, but I kind of like this world, and I'm having fun here. So yeah. I want to, experience it for as long as I can, and then when it's my time to go. But, I think that we get caught up in fear. We got to let that fear go and really start to understand what's around us. I think there's more, and I think our ancient ancestors knew that a lot better than we do. But they weren't so caught up in all this, the electronics and the material world. They were not caught up. They were worried about getting food, shelter, clothing. That's it.
Yeah.
And spirituality. That was it.
That's very true. That's very true.
That's what they did. So they didn't have any of these distractions. I think a lot of this stuff, and we even had this, again, conversation on the way here. I thought about getting rid of my cell phone. I mean, it's a handy tool. We're out of time, but it's a handy tool, but it's something that gets in the way. I'm constantly looking at it, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we're at 5 minutes still, and you got me rambling. You did that on purpose so that I would eat time.
You're right. You're right, and you did a wonderful job.
I did a job with rambling.
Thank you, everyone, and hopefully next week we can discuss...
We have a guest. Do we have a guest session?
Not yet.
Okay. So we will discuss something fun.
Yes.
If we don't have a guest. Anyway, so thank everybody for coming tonight. Sorry we were late.
Appreciate, yes, we were delayed with more technology.
More technology.
Everyone have a good evening, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you. Have a good night.